facilitate is this chapter. So we've done sort of all the backup work. We've done a lot of definitions. What was this whole compensable time? What does that talk about?
Does that mean they compensate you for travel and whatnot? It's part of your job, but it's not like you do
Exactly. This is all the result of little court cases.
Well, I was thinking about, you're in my head, I can't get rid of you at home.
Oh, scary.
So I'm sitting there thinking about like old jobs that I've had, and if I get a phone call that takes like 3 minutes from work or something, and technically I should be paid for that, but I'm not gonna go to work and be like, listen, boss, I'm on the phone for 3 minutes.
Technically, if you're not exempt, what was the law that we saw that covered that? She's absolutely correct. And you're right, most of us aren't documenting 180 seconds of off-the-clock work. But if you answered 12 phone calls an evening, where you did like to read the book with your kiddo, or do homework with your kiddo, or play out in the snow, all of a sudden that's an issue, right? That's compensable time. Which one of these things, it's not on this slide, but what did we learn about as far as that goes? Why really should she have been compensated for little 3-minute phone calls?
basically overtime, right?
There's
I
one
know
rule.
I'm not hitting that, but that's what makes
It's compensable time. That's this guy right here. Work at home is principal activity. Principal activity means compensable time. For non-exempt employees, even if not told to take work home. Remember we had that whole discussion about how the electronic era, so many of us are, spending a lot of time at night, 60 seconds here and 3 minutes there and 6 minutes there, and all of a sudden our time with our families or relaxed time, social time, whatever, recreational time goes away. So this is sort of a new era add-on to FLSA. Well, it's actually not add-on. FLSA, this was a judicial decision that you have to be paid for all of your hours. So you're really, what your employer should have is either some sort of process in place to compensate you for those 3-minute increments, or telling you absolutely positively not in no uncertain terms documented that you are not to do any work outside of your working hours. Because if push comes to shove and you were documenting it, you could actually make a wage claim. See how dicey this gets for most of us? And we were thinking about, like, there are some jobs like, if I'm a nurse, I'm not probably doing much, at 10 o'clock at night. But for a whole lot of us, we're working all the time in the sense that you're at a stop sign and you're answering a student's email, so that kind of thing. So it gets very fluid, doesn't it? Okay, so let's start here. Actually, let's start here, and I'm just going to ask you some questions. Go ahead.
Time doesn't matter if you're exempt or not, right?
Well, so that's kind of a vague question. So compensable time in general is an umbrella term that means, and what I'm doing adds value to my employer. Do they need to be compensating me for it? But if I'm exempt, do I log my time? Can you ask an exempt employee to log his or her time? Sure. Why might you do that if I'm not paying hourly? Or, I'm sorry, if I'm not paying overtime.
So if you're paying salary, they're only going to be exempt.
Yeah.
It would be a good idea to see how much time they're putting into
It's HR planning. It's all about organizational planning. If I've got you guys all working for me and each one of you is putting in, an average of 51 hours a week, I've got a problem. That's not a sustainable model. Okay? It might be hump time. I mean, tax season in a CPA firm, you're expected to put in 80 hours a week. But then your summers are 3-day weeks. Okay? So it's logging it just for HR planning. Okay. The first question I want to ask you is, what are the 4 most common pay schemes? Like, how often do you get paid?
Every 2 weeks.
You can get paid, let's start with the easy ones.
So every 2 weeks.
Okay, every 2 weeks. That's every other Friday all year long. That's called bi-weekly. How many times a year am I paid if I get paid every other Friday? 26 times a year. Bi-weekly is not the same as semi-monthly. Semi-monthly is the 1st and the 15th, for example, or the 2nd and the 22nd. How many times a year are you paid if you're paid semi-annually? 24. You with me? Bi-weekly, 26 times a year, every other Friday. Semi-monthly, twice a month, 24 times a year. You're paid weekly, you're paid 52, every Monday, 52 times a year. If you're paid monthly, you're paid 12 times a year. There's other weird pay schemes like the day laborers. They've also got in their books, it doesn't about being paid quarterly. I've never met anybody that gets 4 paychecks a year. And that might describe contract work, but not employment. So oops, just happened there. This starts sort of the guts of what we're looking at for this section of class. So basically bi-weekly, again, as I said, it's 26 times a year. And that's easy because it's 80 hours every pay period, isn't it? If you're working full-time. But semi-monthly gets wonky because really, depending on where the calendar fits or falls, you can have a pay period as short as 72 hours or as long as 96 hours. Right? Monthly, different hours each pay period for obvious reasons. It's a long month, short month, and we start now. And weekly is again one of the easy ones because that's 40 hours each pay period. So you kind of got a little bit of a dilemma here when you're looking about how to take non-exempt salaried people and pay them overtime. So we're going to learn some strategies for doing that, or computations, I should say. It's okay, like if you guys work for me, to have different pay periods for different groups within the same company. So here, faculty is compensated once a month and staff's compensated every other week. So we have different pay schemes. That's fine, but everybody in one pay week has to be compensated the same way. Okay? As an employer, is it desirable to do it more often or less so often? Why?
Interest. They get more interest on the money if they pay less for it.
Oh, I see. So, wait, say that again.
As the employer.
What if they hold on to the money for longer?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Sure. From cash management and a return on your cash balance account. Sure. Amanda?
Because it's you are focusing on that, and it's less
Really time.
multiple time.
Really time consuming. The flip side of the cash management and the interest yield is that for a lot of small businesses, paying payroll like for a month, it's hard to maybe put cash to do that. Like how often are you paid a call? Every 2 weeks. I would say most small businesses, most retail outlets, most bars and restaurants, I would say that's probably the most common. Weekly is kind of going the way of the dinosaur. I really can't come up off the top of my head with anybody I know that pays your dad. He's the employer or employee? He gets paid weekly. So it's in some employee companies or construction companies. And I wonder if maybe that's from a cash flow management standpoint because their margins are so crunched and they're always, at least in my experience working with construction companies, cash flow management is a huge deal. So probably just to keep that cash flow moving. Okay, so basically, the FLSA tells us that there are 2 methods for computing overtime, calculating overtime pay. And the most common method is to figure out the gross pay, so how many hours did I work times my rate, and then calculate my rate based upon my hourly. So I make $20 an hour, my overtime rate is therefore 20 times 1.5 or $30 an hour, right? Seems fairly straightforward. That's one way to do it. And I'm gonna put numbers to all these. I'm just giving you an overview right now. The other method, and I just want to make sure because we're going to be looking at this word more, is that you understand this premium and the overtime premium is different from overtime rate. And overtime premium is just the 0.5 tack on. So in the example I just gave you of $20 an hour is my base rate. My overtime rate is $30. What's my overtime premium? 10. That tack on. Okay. They give you the same result. This is all just, to me, mumbo jumbo. I try and stay away from this because it's more confusing than anything. Okay, now we do need to talk about this. Is it possible that I work for an organization and do more than one job for them? Yes, sure, right? I work for a CPA firm and let's see something else. Well, actually, that is a good example. The CPA firm I worked for forever ago. One of the guys, well, a couple of the people made money doing like stuff around the office. Like one guy shoveled the snow on the weekends and one guy was into gardening, so she took care of the commercial gardens, right? They're obviously not paid the same rate for that kind of work as they are, for their accounting work. So what happens when you go into overtime? You have more than one pay rate. What does the FLSA say about that? And it's really, you can do it one of three ways, and I think we just need to walk through these. The first one's very self-explanatory. I worked 36 hours a week as an accountant this last week at $20 an hour, but then I worked another 8 hours in the garden at $12 an hour. So they pay me overtime on the $12 an hour because that's what I went into overtime doing, right? Or, oh, sorry, that's this one. Use overtime rate for jobs performed after the 40 hours. Or I just pay it on the accounting rate because I just paid at the higher rate. That's what I've agreed on. But really, in my mind at least, the most mathematically solid way of doing it is called weighted average. So just take this down and let's see if we can figure this out. So, which is the second bullet here. So it's called the weighted average. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is, can you, Amanda, grab me out some paper from that printer back there, please? I'm going to put it on the hover cam so that we can, thank you much. Sure. So that we can have it on the tape if we need to go back and look at it. So the facts are that I work 3 jobs for an organization. And here's how it goes down. In the first job, I worked 32 hours at $19 an hour. Focus. Yes, please. Oh, you're giving me a headache here. I don't know why it does that. Okay, what did I just say? 32 hours? And how much? At 19. Okay, that's my primary job at your veterinary clinic, right? I run the pharmacy. Then I also do some fill-in receptionist working, and I work 7 hours at that. The DVM that owns the vet company pays me $14 an hour then. And then I come in on the weekends and I dog walk and clean cages. I'm doing everything I can to make some extra bucks. And I work 11 hours of that, but that's a pretty low wage job. So obviously in the first method, if I was paying overtime, I'd pay it at what rate? 19 times 1.5. In this example, if I was using that last bullet, which is what job took me into the 40 hours, I'd be paying overtime on the $10 an hour. But you can see by looking at that none of that's really fair, is it? Because in a weighted average approach, my overtime should be weighted towards what I spent my most time doing. And in this case, that was at the higher paid wage. So the first step in doing weighted average is you need to crunch this out and tell me what the 2 things. Let me give you 2 sets of instructions. First thing, you need to find the total gross wages for the week, no overtime, just the total gross. And then second, find my average hourly rate. So total gross wages and then average hourly rate. And I encourage you always, you guys, please to write everything out. I know a lot of you like to save time, you just do it on your calculators. But you need to get into these habits on the test. I will definitely give points for showing progression of work. A lot of these have 4 or 5 calculations, so if you screw up or transpose or miss a step, I want to be able to see that so I don't ding you off the whole thing. Okay, so she made $816 base gross pay, right? And how many hours did it take her to make that? 50 hours, right? So that means she's making an average of $16.32 an hour, right? Everyone agree? So that's what I pay the overtime on. So calculate her premium, in other words, the 0.5, and tack that onto her regular gross. Calculate the premium, i.e. the 0.5, and then multiply it because we found her average rate now, right? Well, the rate is 1.5, a premium's 0.5. That's just that little tack line. Because we're already giving her $16.32 an hour for the full 50 hours, right? We just need to tack on 0.5 for the overtime hours. Is that what you got? So that's your total gross paycheck. So this is illustrating, this is something that always comes back to bite students, this difference between overtime rate and overtime premium. How can you figure out which one is most appropriate? You have to ask yourself the question. I'm going to put this really succinctly. In this example, here I do not put this succinctly. This is divided by 50 hours. So I can see that she's getting paid for all the hours up to and over 40. So all I'm doing in that case is tacking on. In some of these systems, you're going to see that that's not the case. But I'm going to get into myself. So this one, I need to tack it on. This is a premium situation. And that's weighted average. So obviously, it's not as good of a deal for her as if we were using the highest rate one, but it's way fairer than she was going in overtime for $10 an hour cleaning the wage, or cleaning the cage rate.
She really only made like $1.32 more an hour, like for those overtime, you know what I mean? But no, all her hours though, the weighted hours actually raised her from
Sure,
10.
sure,
That makes sense.
sure,
So it's-
exactly. That's the whole point,
Yeah.
is it weights it towards whether you're making more or less money. Okay. Everybody okay with that? Okay, that just basically does what we just did. Okay, so this is sort of the guts to what we're going to be doing the rest of today. And I know I ask you this every time. 150. Yeah, so great. We've got plenty of time. So here's the 5 steps. And what we're trying to do is convert a non-exempt salaried person who has overtime. I'm non-exempt. They call me the sales manager, right? They put me on salary, $396 a week, at Starbucks, and I'm working overtime. I don't really manage anything. I have no control over inventory or recruiting or personnel or product line or anything. But they call me manager. Okay, great, they put me on salary, okay, fine. And I turned in a time shift for 46 hours last week. Okay, because I'm non-exempt, they have to figure out how to convert my salary and pay me overtime.
Well, from employer's perspective, what's the benefit of putting someone on salary?
There really isn't. You see people do it all the time. They think it gets them out from underneath overtime just by putting them on salary and tacking on that new manager. And it doesn't because of the shit ton of headaches. Yeah, there's no advantage that I can see.
Everyone's an employee.
You know, which raise you're gonna get.
I mean, no, not really, other than you've got manager on your card. Rather than head barista, you know. Okay, so let's just walk through these. What's that first step mean? If I asked you to annualize her salary and I told you that I paid her $396 a week, how would you annualize her salary? Yeah, you gotta multiply by how many times she's paid in a year. Gross, always gross. How would you annualize your salary if I told you I paid her $800 semi-annually? Semi-annually is 24. I take 800 times 24. Semi-monthly, clearly. Semi-monthly. If I told you I paid her $800 and I'm on a bi-weekly scheme, 26. And what if I paid her $1,200 a month and I paid her monthly? Times 12, I'm really getting the minimum wage here. Okay, so that's what annualizing salary means. That's the first step, and we're going to write all these out, little algebraic equations. And when I walk around, it's very interesting to see how our different minds work. I'm a very linear person, hence I'm an accountant. I have 5 neat little algebraic equations because there's 5 steps. Some students that are creative, they've got circles, and they've got arrows, and try as much as you can, just for me, to keep this kind of nice and neat and packaged together so you can follow your own work. I promise me it will be to your benefit. It's not just like I'm the dictator and you have to do it my way. Okay, the next thing is we want to calculate the regular weekly gross. Then we calculate our hourly pay. Then we get our overtime rate, and then we figure out the overtime rate and add it to the gross. So let's just try one together. We're going to walk through this by looking at it, and then I'm going to have you start writing down the steps. So this is my first example. My salary is quoted to Farron. He's a non-exempt employee, and I quoted him a salary of $1,500 a month. He works in my electronics shop, and I'm training him to be an electronic tech. He's paid weekly, and he has 43 hours in one pay period. I want to calculate his gross pay. Step 1, I annualize. Well, the magic thing here is he's paid weekly. So to get it up to his annual gross, obviously I have to multiply by 12. Now, in this case, he's paid weekly, so I'm converting it down to a weekly paycheck. But if I told you that I quoted him a monthly salary, but only paid him semi-monthly, would I divide by 52 there? No. What if it was bi-weekly? No. So I don't like how the slides do these 2 steps. Stick with me here. They make me do this. I write these to go with the textbook that goes all over the country, but it's not the best way. Let me make a case for what I think is the best way and how I'm going to teach it. Once you go to their annual salary, regardless of what their pay scheme is, how can you calculate their hourly rate? How many hours are in a work year? Figure it out. Figure it out. How many hours are in a work year? 2008. 52 weeks, 40 hours. Obviously, in this case, that's exactly what they did. They did 2 steps. But just stick with me. What we're going to do for step 2 is always divide our annual by the number of hours in the work year. Does everybody in the whole world have a contracted 2,080 hour work year? No, I don't. I'm contracted for 1,380 hours a year. Lots of people are contracted for something less than that, cyclical, or you don't work Friday afternoons or whatever, right? So step number 2 in my mind is divide by the number of hours in the work year. And that's going to pop you right down here, that's my kind of range. That's what you calculate the overtime on. It gets to the same place, it's just a more direct route, and it's applicable to every pay scheme. You can't use this if they are either semi-monthly or monthly, because you don't have the same amount of hours in every pay period. So it's mathematically not going to work. So then you've got to use a different method for those. And why would you ask a student to make a decision which method am I using? You just have one method. Okay, let's try an example for you. 2,000 semi-monthly 4. Okay, I'm going to write this up on this guy, and we're going to go over this. Semi-monthly. Okay, let's try this one. Oop, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I have an employee, and I quote her a $2,000 a month salary. Okay. She manages my cleaning crew. I have a ton of commercial cleaning gigs. So I quote her a $2,000 a month salary. Do you think somebody that manages a cleaning crew is an exempt or a non-exempt employee?
I mean, big managers are even higher part of exempt.
Okay, so good input. Your discretionary duties have to constitute 40% of your job. I don't think I said that. I know I didn't say that. Okay, so I've got a cleaning crew of 6 people. Yeah, there's some turnover. I got to look at resumes, hire fire manager work. But guess what? I'm probably also doing a whole lot of myself. Cleaning.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, probably 85% chance it's going to be a non-exempt job. That's a great example of somebody I think I'm putting on salary, and then I can work Eve 48, 50 hours a week. Well, no, I can't, because she's got a little bit of her job's discretionary. There's nothing discretionary about vacuuming and dusting. Okay, so I pay her semi-monthly, and in one pay period, semi-monthly pay period, she works 4 hours of overtime. We've got 4 steps. Step number 1, annualize Eve's salary. And write the actual formula out. Annualize her salary. How many times a year is she paid? Oh, sorry, that's not right. I read this slide wrong. I converted it wrong. She's only paid monthly. Pardon me. Because if she was paid 48 grand a year, she'd be making more than that 455, and she would be exempt.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. So these are for lower income people. Okay. So step 1, $24,000 a year annual salary, right? Step 2, figure her regular gross. Which I know this feels like we're going in a circle, but just. And then write that. Oh, I'm irritated with my own self. Okay. That was semi-monthly. Okay, let me just go back. I'm sorry, I'm irritating my own self. So I quote her a salary, I'm paying you $2,000 a month, but I cut payroll semi-monthly. That's what I meant to say. That makes sense? Yeah, I mean, I knew I didn't write it that way. Step 3, I want you to figure out what her regular rate is, and I want you to use that calculation I gave you, which is going back to her annual salary and dividing by the number of hours in the work year. And you're going to round it to 2 digits. The 2 numbers. 2 times percent. 2 decimal points. God. It's Thursday.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, me too. Usually by Thursdays, huh?
yeah, that's what
So we have no reason to believe that she works anything more or less than a 2,080 hour work year. I will be giving you situations in the future where people do work something different than that, but you have to assume 2,080 unless you're otherwise, so 2,080 divided by, no, 24,000, divided by 2,080. What'd you guys get? And what should we label that 1154? Yeah, hourly rate, or regular rate, I would say. What's step number 4 then? Figure her overtime rate. So please write out the math to do that. What times what equals the overtime rate? Yep.
Oh, wait, my bad. I didn't know.
Step 5, you're going to take the regular gross, right, plus overtime. And the overtime is the overtime rate times the number of hours that we're working overtime. So that's going to be a compound algebraic statement, right? Regular gross plus hours times rate. And that's basically going to be E's gross paycheck. Okay, easy peasy. If I can figure out how to get the facts straight. Go ahead and give everybody a couple seconds. I want everything nice and neat and labeled. Because when you get to an exam, if you transpose one of those numbers and wrote down 1145 and kept it going and came up with the wrong answer and I couldn't see your work, I'd just be minus 10 versus minus 1 because you transposed some digits. Slightly ABD. Happens to me all the time. All right, that's Eve. Let's do one more, see if I can pick this up. Okay, paid bi-weekly. Okay. So now let's try another one. This is $2,200 a month, bi-weekly. Okay, $2,200 a month. Bi-weekly, so quoted a monthly salary. Paid bi-weekly. And in one weekly time period. She worked 11 and a half hours of overtime. What's this check? And I want you to write out again, obviously, please. And if you want me to come around and take a look at what you're doing individually, I'm happy to do that. Does anyone need that? All right, give her a go. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's from number 2, the regular gross paycheck. Every time that she works, that's what she gets.
So, okay, because it doesn't matter, that 40 hours, that's what she was paid, right?
Right. That's her regular gross paycheck, yeah.
Okay.
So in this page, on number 2, are you going to divide by 24? So if you're paid bi-weekly, how many times a year is it? 26. Bi-weekly is every other Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. They,
Okay. Oh.
they wanna, take the piss.
Oh, that's funny.
You're like, why, Brad?
So here's the slightly tricky thing about this one. That's actually not slightly tricky. We're going right through the steps, right? But they do this in the 2 steps. I went right from 26,400 divided by 2,080 to get there. See the difference? There's no reason to go through the dual steps. Number 1 was my annual wage. Yeah. Number 2, what's my regular gross paycheck? 26 times a year. That's it. Step number 3, you just go straight to the annualized rate, which we've already calculated at 2640 divided by 2,080 hours, and it dumps you right in here. The overtime rate is the regular rate times 1.5. And then Brooke, this was the one you were asking me about last time. To come to the final grand hoo-ha amount, it's just my regular gross paycheck that I get every time, plus my overtime. 11.5 hours at 1904. Over and over and over this works, same 5 steps. Now let's try one where I work less than a 2,080 hour year.
Didn't you say that it would be like the $1,100 instead of the $1,015?
The 1,100.
Where we just had 2,200 a month. So it'd be,
Right, but she's not paid semi-monthly, she's paid bi-weekly. That's a great illustrative point. Why do we go through these 5 steps every time you come to the right answer? Okay, so now stick with me here. So let's say now I have a company, which actually happens a lot in urban areas, where I put you on salary, you're non-exempt, but we only have a 36-hour work week. I let everybody off at 2 o'clock on Fridays because traffic's hell in San Francisco, right? So once you get to 36 hours a week in my company, I'm going to start paying you overtime because your salary's only for 36 hours a week. But I'm only going to pay you overtime at this rate, between 36 and 40 hours. And then I'm going to kick into this one to get 40 because I have to. So do you see I've got a tiered system now? I get a regular rate, or a regular wage, excuse me. Then I get my hourly rate for everything between number of hours and 40. And then for anything over 40, I get overtime rate. Nothing's going to look different in all this except for 2 things. One is, instead of dividing by 2,080, you're going to divide by what? The number of hours in the work year. The 36 times 40 in that example. And then the only other thing that's different is down here, there's going to be 3 parts. One is my regular gross paycheck. One is some hours at this rate. And one is some hours at this rate. Does that make sense? All right, so let's try an example. Oh, I don't have an example there. Let's do it here. Okay. Let's say
There's one on there.
there is. Oh, I didn't just
Right
see it.
below example number 3.
It was.
Go down.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. What is going on here? Okay, I'm going to hide this because I don't want you to see that. And we're going to just go in here and turn that white. Okay. All right, let's go through and work this one. But don't put the screen up in front of you. It's way better for you to think this through on your own. Okay, so salary is quoted to Felicia. She's a non-exempt employee. I quote her salary $1,600 a month. She works in my nail salon. And I commissioned her for a 35-hour work week. She works 7 hours a day. And I pay semi-monthly. And I give her overtime over 35 hours a week, but it's calculated at that regular hourly rate between 35 and 40 hours a week. But I have to go to time and a half over 40. And she's turning in a pay period, or a paycheck, or excuse me, a pay request for a semi-monthly time frame. and she's got 16 hours of overtime. But overtime in my company has to be segregated, doesn't it? 10 hours of the overtime is between 35 and 40 hours a week for those 2 weeks. So that's my regular week. The other 6 hours is at time and a half. So, step 1, annualize Felicia's salary. Annualize her salary.
For this, does it matter if, let's say, she worked 34 one week and, or 30, I should say?
No, it doesn't, as long as I get her to 10 and a half over 40 for compliance. How much is her annual salary? 19,200, right? 1,600 times 12. Step number 2, once you've gotten to that 19,200, what is her regular semi-monthly gross paycheck? Regular semi-monthly gross paycheck. Piece of cake. The next question is you've got to figure out what our annual rate is, and you're not going to be taking 19,200 divided by 2,080 because she doesn't work 2,080. That salary doesn't reflect 2,080 hours. How many hours does that salary reflect in the work week? So that's how you want to get her hourly. Annual salary divided by the number of hours in the work year that I'm paying her for. And again, they do this in 2 steps. I have no idea why you bring it down a weekly. That doesn't have anything to do with this problem. I'm just going to multiply these numbers together. Those are the number of hours in the work year. 1055. Figure out her rate over 40 hours a week next. And I think we're just going to do traditional rounding. If it's 0.5 or bigger, you're going to the next iteration. And then once you get the overtime rate, you've got 3 pieces to the final calculation. She gets a regular gross paycheck. She gets 10 hours of overtime in her company at the regular rate. And then she gets another 6 hours, I think, at the FLSA overtime rate. So your algebraic formula should have 3 sections to it. Couple more minutes, we've got one other kind of big topic I want to cover because we've got homework due on Tuesday. We need to know how to do this last calculation. Everybody knows that, right? Homework's due on Tuesday from chapter 2 from the syllabus, only from what's in the syllabus, nothing more, nothing less.
Is that one?
The book's in the library. So, something I hope you were thinking. And the quiz, the acronym quiz. So you're studying all your acronyms. You can write a sentence or 2 about what it is. It's not enough to just write a couple words. Like, what is IRCA? Tell me about it. What is PBGC? Tell me about it. And if it's one of the taxes over there, you're really going to essentially have to replicate the tax table. In fact, I think I just say that right on the test. Replicate the tax table. You have to know all those numbers. Okay. So, she,
So why do we even calculate the $800 semi-monthly?
because that's the base, right? That's our jumping off point. Salaried, non-exempt employees that work less than a 2,080-hour work year. The reason that I have these slides and the reason that I tape stuff is that like, oh my gosh, I wasn't 100% sure what she did. Go back and look at it and listen to it again.
So when some, I don't remember seeing this, but when someone is officially like considered part-time, like 20 hours a week,
Right.
overtime still doesn't start until the 40s, correct?
Exactly. Unless I promise you some sort of incentive pay at X amount of hours a week. But that's not really overtime, that's just tiered pay. Okay, let's look at the last major big issue. Piece rate. Okay, piece rate is fine, the FLSA says I can do it, no big deal. And it's like, you guys all work for me and you bale hay or shuck oysters or assemble wind chimes or do quality control on, mulch. I don't know where that came from. I'm gonna pay you by the thing that you do. And that's fine, but obviously I've got to get you the minimum wage and I've got to compensate you for overtime. There's two different ways to do overtime with piece rate. And that's the last two things we're going to look at today. Okay, I'm going to go through these fairly quickly. I think it's a lot easier to work with numbers than it is theory, but the models basically say that there's two methods. One method is I'm like, oh, he baled 6,000 bales of hay, and I pay him $1.50 a piece, right? So he needs $950. And I'm going to divide that by how many total hours it took me to do that. Gives me my hourly rate for the whole time frame, for the whole 50 hours, so to say. So this is a case where I'm going to do what? Just like we did in that first one, just add on the premium, not a full rate. So that's one way to do it. The second way to do it is basically recognizing that you get a different piece rate depending upon when you're baling the hay. I baled most of them in the first 40 hours and some of them in the last 40 hours. So everything I did in the last over 40 hours, I get 1.5 times. These are not going to give you the same numbers. They're going to be close, and that's how you check your work for reasonableness. But they're not going to be the same numbers because they're not based on the same, they're just not based on the same analysis. Okay, let's try this one. Let's work through it together. I want you to just write this down as I'm going to talk you through it, and you're going to write the formulas. So let's just say here that I am inspecting oyster beds. And I inspected, they come in these big trays, and you pull them out of the water and you inspect them for quality. So I inspected 4,812 pallets of oysters in a 47.25 hour work week. And 600 of those 4,812 pallets, 600 of those were done once I reached my 40-hour work week. So therefore, how many did I inspect in the first 40 hours? 4,212, right? So it's split into two. Mustafa is paid 12 cents per pallet. And I want you to figure out the gross pay using both methods. So method one, figure out how much he's just going to make in total for those full 4,812 units. And actually write it down. $4,812 pallets of oysters sitting in the salt water, your thigh-high boots, thinking, God, I want to go to the zoo at college.
Next one.
Oh, God. I always get these examples from something we did. This was actually, we saw this in Nicaragua. There's just seas of people out checking these oyster pellets. They're thankful for the work, but oh goodness. And they're not making any amount of money, I can guarantee you, like we're calculating here. Okay, so great. Now, oop, I don't want you to go there. I want you to stay here. Okay, so that's, what'd you get the, what's the number? $577.44. How many hours did it take him to make that? 47.25. So therefore, what's his regular rate per hour? $12.22. Yeah, I bet you those gentlemen in Nicaragua weren't making that in a day. Yep. Okay, great. Where did this come from? What was that, 48.12 times 12 cents? That's my regular pay. What do I have to tack on to that $12.22 an hour? The premium. How do I get a premium? What times what? Anybody? That's it. The last step is simply to take what his regular gross paycheck is and give him his premium for the hours over 40. Take his regular gross paycheck and make sure that he gets the premium for the hours he worked over 40. What do we get? $621.74. That's called method A. It doesn't recognize the fact. It doesn't matter when he quality controlled or quality assured those various pallets. It's just in total. The second one's different. The second one says, I give him 12 cents an hour for what he did in the first 40 hours, and I give him his piece rate times 1.5 for everything he did over 40 hours. How many did he do the first 40 hours? 4,212. What did he do the last, or after 40 hours? 600. It's just got two different piece rates, doesn't it? The quoted piece rate for during the first 40 hours, and the piece rate times 1.5 for anything over 40 hours.
And it's up to the employer which one they choose to do.
They have to tell you which one they're going to do, and then they have to apply consistently.
But you still don't know, you're not gonna change it.
Technically.
Oh, I heard that you can't legally make someone understand the contract and just you go legally and say
Have them,
it.
You can only say that they received it and read it.
You can't make them say they understood it.
Right.
So with this, if they start talking with a normal person, discuss young common stuff, and they say, oh, I'm gonna do yours with method A.
I think that's just a payroll book thing. I would say I'm either gonna base it on overtime premium, or I'm gonna base it on production before and after 40 hours. Is how I would describe it layman's terms. Method A, method B doesn't mean anything to me. So in this example, he gets 12 cents for these guys, and he gets 18 cents for those guys, right? And could method B be more than method A? Sure, if we ramped up his productivity after the 40 hours, which way would you use as a manager? But you can't ascertain that until you see the actual numbers. I'm talking about from an organizational behavior standpoint.
Well, it's probably not gonna go harder than overtime. You know what I mean? So I would,
Well, he is if he's giving this.
yeah, but then again,
Do you want to incent him to do that?
I do want to incentivize him to keep going the best he can in overtime, but
So long the first 40 hours and I kick in at 18 cents an hour?
you got a point.
I don't want him to do that. I don't think that's how I want to incent my employees. I want to figure out what their efficiency ratio can be, keep them happy, productive, moving forward. I'm probably going to try and normalize it up here from an organizational behavior standpoint. But lots of people do get it up. Okay, so you guys understand what you're doing for Tuesday? Do you feel like you can get through the first two chapters and extract all of the acronyms pretty easily? The acronyms, yeah, and then the tax tables.
Is it for the first two chapters?
It is. I don't know that we've even learned any new acronyms in chapter 2, though. I think it just sort of flushes out like the FLSA a little bit more. Okay, did we learn any new acronyms in the second chapter? I don't think so. But it's technically over the first two chapters because the tax tables.
If they use an act that isn't an acronym.
All of them will be acronyms.
Okay.
All of them will be acronyms. What's ACA? The Affordable Care Act is comprised of 2 different pieces of legislation. Separate. Sure, thank you. Have a great weekend. If you're a skier, get out there.